Do you love TV shows? We do too. Hello everyone, I'm Jeff.
And I'm Anna, and we're the hosts of We Judge a Show by Its Pilot, a podcast hosted by us, a married couple with an endless love for TV.
Whether you're searching for a new favorite series or ready to revisit an old classic, we're here to guide you through an infinite world of TV shows.
Each episode, we watch and discuss the pilot for shows while also sharing personal stories that parallel the storyline.
So if you're tired of endlessly scrolling and not sure what to watch next, tune in and let us do the searching for you.
We Judge a Show by Its Pilot. New episodes every Tuesday and Friday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Your new favorite show is just one click away. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our pod.
Hello, welcome back. I've missed you.
I've missed you. So we just recorded a future episode that you have not heard yet.
This is our future selves, our past selves?
Yeah, we are now our past selves from the future. I don't know.
Yeah.
So we are continuing British Month with a show that I didn't think we were going to do before the U.S. version. I feel like at some point we should have found a way to do the U.S. version.
No, I think we need to hold on to it.
I'm going to agree with you because I'm glad that we're doing this first. It just, to me, I'm just like, we both are I don't know if we're known, but I know that it is very well known that The Office is one of our favorite shows.
Our bathroom upstairs is fully decorated in Office
themed
stuff.
From the shower curtain to the disco
wall,
ball.
all of it.
So yeah, we are continuing British Month with the UK, the original version of The Office, the UK version of The Office. And I mean, at this point in time, if you've never heard of The Office, what are you doing?
Were you just born?
Were you just born?
Did you just listening to this now?
Did you just wake up from a coma? By the way, thanks for listening to us.
Yeah, from your coma.
For first thing coming out of a coma. I really want to listen to a podcast about TV shows. Yeah, that's what they said.
Well, they might have missed all the TV and they need to catch up.
You know what? You couldn't be more right. We are the target audience
for people coming out of comas. We nailed it.
We found our niche.
We need to advertise in hospitals.
So yeah, I had never, we'll get more into it, but like I had never really watched the UK version before. I know I definitely watched the first episode. I maybe watched the first season because it's like 6 episodes or something like that. Just the US one, almost said the regular one. The US one had 6 episodes the first season. But yeah, I'm really excited about this one. This was kind of a weird time warp. I mean, like just kind of a weird alternate universe kind of thing.
Oh, for sure. I'm reversed,
right?
Because I've only ever seen The Office, and I had my initial love-hate relationship with it because of what happened with work, and that guy who had spent a bunch of time on doing The Office intro with all the people from work.
Oh my God.
And we were all sitting there going...
I don't think you've ever told me this story before.
Oh, I haven't? Well, I'll tell you when we get into it.
All right, so we are doing The Office, and we're just going to get right into it. We're going to go ahead and give you some episode and series information.
All right, The Office, UK. Downsize. The Office was a British mockumentary sitcom that aired on BBC Two in the UK from July 9th, 2001 to December 27th, 2003 for 2 seasons and 14 episodes. The series was created by Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant. Although Gervais is known for his work as a comedic actor now, he was originally an aspiring musician in the 80s performing in the new wave pop duo known as Siona Dancing. He then got a job in radio at the University of London Union, where he met Merchant. The two created a short film called The Seedy Boss, which ended up being the foundation for The Office. BBC's head of entertainment and comedy saw the short film and commissioned a pilot script from Gervais and Merchant. The Office centers around the day-to-day lives of the employees at the fictional Warnham Hogg Paper Company in Slough, England. The series revolves around manager David Brent as he tries to navigate his role as a boss while also trying to keep his branch afloat during the company's financial crisis. The series stars Ricky Gervais as David Brent, the company's immature and completely unaware manager. Martin Freeman as Tim Canterbury, a sales rep known for his friendly demeanor and sense of humor.
We finally get to talk about Martin Freeman after watching Fargo twice.
Yes. Mackenzie Crook as Gareth Keenan, another sales rep with a no-nonsense attitude, a delusional sense of authority, and is often the butt of Tim's jokes and pranks. Lucy Davis as Dawn Tinsley, the company's receptionist and David's assistant, who is often the one that has to put up with David's antics. The first episode also introduces the new temp, Ricky Howard, played by Oliver Chris. Warehouse worker and Dawn's dull fiance, Lee, played by Joel Beckett. And David's superior, Jennifer Taylor Clark, played by Sterling Gallagher. I don't know how to say that. The first season of The Office didn't get a lot of attention or praise, but through word of mouth, DVD releases, and reruns, the series became more popular, and by the second season premiere, it was one of the most popular shows on BBC. It is now considered to be one of the greatest British sitcoms of all time and has spawned several international remakes, including in the countries of Brazil, Germany, and Poland. But it was the U.S. remake of The Office, starring Steve Carell, John Krasinski, Rainn Wilson, and Jenna Fisher, that became the most well-known and remains one of the most popular and beloved shows in American television history. You can currently watch The Office UK on Hulu and the U.S. version on Peacock.
Yeah, when I was typing this all up, I was trying to think of at least a TV show where, like, the remake preceded, like, passed up the original in like popularity and like, you know, notoriety and praise. Because I mean, like, The Office in America, the U.S. Office, still to this day, and you just said it, but still to this day, like, one of the biggest shows. I mean, it is still constantly talked about. It is still one of, I don't know,
the Office Ladies podcast.
I don't know if it's one of the most, I mean, like, they're done with the episodes. They just have the podcast. They just still are running the podcast now.
Well, they're actually doing second helpings.
Yeah.
Like, they're going back because I think, like, sometimes how we feel, like, we're like, oh, I wish I would have said that.
Yeah.
And especially in their early days,
right,
like, because the pandemic hit. But yeah, I'll admit, though, I don't know of a lot of British shows that were remade into a U.S. show.
Right.
So I wouldn't.
I mean, there are some, but the ones that I think of are the ones that, like, bombed. So, like, the ones that didn't really make any impact. Maybe they lasted a couple seasons, but they didn't make, like, any impact. Like the U.S. Office, like, just what I mean, it started so many careers. I mean, it started so many jokes and trends and catchphrases
memes.
and memes and gifs and iconic moments that even if you haven't watched the show, you know about. Like,
yeah. Oh, you've seen those.
Yeah. And I mean, like, that's just when you know you have a show that's bigger than just being a popular show. It's internationally known, internationally loved. And I mean, it's, you know, it has obviously the UK office to thank, because that's the foundation. Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant cashed those checks because they got executive producer credits because they were the ones that gave permission to adapt it. So why do we think, and we could talk about it could be the UK or the US office, but let's try to focus on the UK office. Why do you think these shows are so popular? Because, I mean, I just named 4 countries that remade The Office in their own country, but it was like a list. These were just the longest lasting ones.
Oh, wow.
Most of them only lasted like a season or 2, but it was like Australia, Philippines, like every country in South America, I think, had their own Office show, and maybe not every show in Europe, but I mean, like, it was a list. And so it was just very interesting that every country tried to have their own office, The Office.
Yeah.
So why do you think it's so popular?
Well, I think and this is like pre-pandemic, of course, I think a lot of the workforce worked in an office.
Right.
Well, you don't work in a traditional office.
Yeah.
You do. You work in the restaurant, which is an office.
Mm-hmm.
You're not sitting in a cubicle answering the phones
Right.
and doing like sales and stuff or, you know, whatnot. But I think we all have that somewhat of a work experience where we were in an office with colleagues, with the cuckoo, with the person who wore too much perfume,
Yeah.
or the one who was always in the office first and wanted to be the last one there to prove that they were the hardest worker,
Right.
or, and so I feel like it was something definitely relatable to a lot of people, especially if you worked in an office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just think workplace comedies, when done right, or workplace shows in general, when done right, I think they should be universally kind of relatable, just because, like you said, we all knew a slacker who kind of, was kind of the clown. We kind of all have had to deal with an incompetent manager. We've always kind of in a way of like, how did you get promoted? Like that kind of attitude. And yeah, the overachiever who really just like really thought really highly of themselves. And it's like, dude, we're selling paper. Like it's really not that serious.
You're not curing cancer right now. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to say, and it's kind of funny because I know my sister knows that we love this show, and she's seen The Bathroom, so she's always like, why do you, what is it? She's like, I can't handle Steve Carell.
Right.
And I'm like, that's the point.
That's a lot of people,
And I'm like, it's like, you've got to understand that's his character, and he's intending to be a dumbass.
Right.
But like in an annoying way. And so
right.
I said, that's what's crazy is deep down though, he is like the sweetest person.
Right. I think that's a lot of the redeeming qualities about at least Michael Scott in the U.S. version. David, I don't know. Ricky Gervais's character, I don't fully know if he has any redeeming qualities. Like I said, we haven't watched the show.
Right.
It's 14 episodes. I'd be totally down to watch it just to see how it all unfolded for that version.
Yeah.
And it sounds super easy. They're like 25-minute episodes. So I mean, like, it seems that's how British TV used to be, and like it's not like that anymore. Now they have shows that go on for 14, 15 seasons.
I know. I was gonna say, was this like an outlier that was only 2
This
seasons?
was the early days of British TV where something would only last like 2 seasons. If it went on longer than like a couple seasons, they would completely change the cast. Like that was just kind of how shows worked back then. Well, in the UK, from what I understand. I'm not speaking like I know, because I've never lived in the UK. But I just think that the thing with Michael Scott was that you began to learn that like he's not incompetent. He's not a dumbass. He's actually very intelligent. He's actually very smart, and he is actually a very good salesman. He's a very, very good salesman, which is what got him the job. He's just not good at being a manager. So it's just like that was like the difference in, do you hire someone that's qualified to be a manager, or do you just do you promote this someone because they're like qualified for it, or do you promote someone that like put in the work and put in the years? And sometimes those aren't mutually exclusive. Sometimes those aren't the same thing. Like you do a lot of times kind of have like a little combination of both when you promote someone. But sometimes you have a Michael who was just really, really good at his job. So they're like, oh, well, he's obviously going to be promoted to general manager or regional manager. And he gets to regional manager, and you're like, oh, this guy's an idiot. Like this guy's, but not in a bad way, just like you cannot make a decision to save your life. You need everyone's help to make a decision. But when his back's up against the wall, he ends up making most of the time the right decision. Most of the time.
The thing is he loves everyone.
Yes.
He wants everyone to love him too.
Right.
There's always that underlying, like, I want you to like me.
Right.
I want you to love me, really. Like, you're my kid.
Right.
You're my brother. You're my family.
And I'm glad that Steve Carell really kept the spirit of that going into the US show, because watching the UK version, you see that in David, who is just like, I am everyone's best friend. Like I feel like David Brent is way more delusional than Michael. I feel like he is way more like, he is certain that everyone thinks he is hilarious. Everyone thinks he is the coolest boss that they've ever had, and they cannot stand him. And it's just like, and there's the one worker for some reason that like clicks with him, and that's Gareth or Dwight in the US version. Which we're gonna kind of get into the character similarities, because at least the main characters kind of have a doppelganger with the US and the UK. Kind of the characters that the the UK characters that they base the US characters off of. I think I said that right. That it's, I mean, like costumes, hairstyle,
color, like
like facial expressions, like things, like quirks. Like it's very, very funny. We'll get into that in a second. But I want to talk about working in an office setting. So, like it was very nice of you to say that I work in a form of an office in a kitchen. I work in a setting where I work with a bunch of different people. We all come from different walks of life, and we're all very, very different, and we all have a common goal of achieving, serving people food as quickly as possible and not giving them shitty food. But I mean in a more formal office setting.
Yes, I know what you mean.
I appreciate you saying that. That is a very creative way to look at it. But in a formal office setting, have you ever worked... Because I've only ever known you to work from home. You travel. The world is your classroom, but like you get to kind of go and travel. And when you're not traveling, you're working from home. And I've never known any other way that you've been because you've always worked from home. So, did you ever work like in a formal, traditional office setting?
Yes. So I worked in a law firm office off of St. Charles downtown. When I was in law school, but I also started this job, by the way, it's my 27-year anniversary today.
I saw that.
In this office in Seattle, Washington, for 8 years. And of those 8 years, I worked 4 of them in office.
Oh, okay.
So from 1999 to 2003, I was in office, and then they made all academic account managers my job. Home office based in 2003. And I'll actually never forget that specific day. I was really upset because I felt like I was being kicked out of the office, like that they didn't want us there anymore. And then the first day that I woke up from home and I was like, I don't have to fight traffic. I don't have to go downtown. I don't have to pay for parking and, then fight traffic going home. I'm already here.
Right.
And so it was this revelation of like, this is the best thing ever. But for those years from 99 until 2003, it was fun and crazy and kooky. Like, cause I think I was probably the party planning committee person. So like when I came in, I was kind of like, I'm not going to say the young ingenue of the office because I was 30 at the time, but I was young and I was fresh out of law school and I was excited about this job and this opportunity. And I just, was so excited to meet everyone. And so like I implemented things like on the last Friday of every month, we were going to do like potluck because usually the last Friday of the month was like you were closing, submitting reports, like entering in numbers, Excel sheets, whatever. And like we just didn't want to leave to go anywhere. So I was like, why don't we just all bring food and like everyone bring like a casserole or a veggie tray? And everyone's like, oh my God. And then that turned into like, Candy Mondays, like everyone would bring candy. So like, how Pam has candy on her desk. I mean, and so we had a receptionist and we had several of them. So there was Dominique and then there was Angela. Shout out to Angela if you're listening. I'm still friends with her. And we had a regional manager. That's what she was called. And she had her office. And it was funny because anytime she would call me into her office and say, close the door, I always felt like I was going to the principal's office. But then we had cubicles. And so it was very much like the office bullpen. So there were like 1, 2, 3, 4 of us on one side and like 3 on the other side. And you could definitely smell people's lunches. So that whole episode about Pam being pregnant and not wanting to smell lunches.
So great.
The perfume was also a thing because I will admit I love perfume. So I think I was the cause of one of those days, like stop wearing perfume. But we also had a lot of fun. And so that was like other things that I could find relatable in the office. Like we would just like, at the end of the day, if we didn't have appointments or something, someone would be like, anyone need a drink? Let's go walk down, to the, bar down in the, building and let's go to happy hour. Or I'll never forget. And I'll maybe out the entire office.
Uh-oh.
At least several of them are still with TR right now, but we left early to go watch the premiere of Jurassic Park 3.
Nice.
And
Worth it.
yeah, so we all like snuck out. You know,
That's awesome.
We had the tech guy, we had law firm people, we had government people, we had the marketing manager, we had the receptionist. I was in the schools. We had the person who did corporate stuff. And so again, like all of those.
Were you like the traveling salesman of the group?
I probably was the more traveler.
You were the Todd Packer.
There was the one who she was like an account rep, so she helped everyone, not me. But so she would go to Alaska or Hawaii. I actually, I went to Vegas. I had to go to Spokane and Moscow, Idaho. And, so there were several of us that got to travel and things like that. But it's the dynamics that when I was watching this show, I kind of felt, I was like, wow, that was like 2 Union Square in Seattle. That was, not us identically, but, there were remnants of each of us in those characters. So I definitely could relate to the whole office, like atmosphere.
Yeah, it's really funny because there was an era when I worked at George's that we had, it was a lot more like kind of 50-50 with men and women working there. And it was a lot, we were all kind of friends with each other. We all kind of, I don't know if we would hang out all the time, but I mean, like, they all came over to my house. They all came over to my apartment for my birthday that one time. So I had
after Christmas party,
3/4 of the Georges. Yeah, I would have people. It was a lot more of like it really was kind of more of like maybe of the office vibe. But I remember kind of making a joke when I first kind of got you into the office, when we were just kind of talking one day, and I kind of went down the line of everyone that worked at George's. I'm like, oh yeah, we do have, Matt D is always on his crossword puzzles, just like Stanley, and Kevin always kind of gives us this look like, how the hell did I get here? Like Daryl does all the time. And Sarah's just like Angela. She's blonde and she loves her cats. And I'm like Oscar because I'm the actually guy. And like, it was just kind of this really funny kind of realization, like, oh yeah, and Andy is just like the other Andy, and Michael, Josh is just like Michael because he has all of his like little toys and action figures and stuff. And it was just kind of funny because I was like, even though we don't work in an office, it was like we all have those archetypes, and we all kind of have those,
and that's what I
personalities. Mean. Yeah, and it very much like kind of reminded me that like it doesn't matter where you work. It's kind of all, when it's a big group of people, it's just kind of always the same. Like there's kind of always those types of people and
in the group,
and different types of dynamics. And some people are friends, some people date, and some people try to keep it a secret. And very much a thing in restaurants, also a thing in offices where people are trying to hide it, and everyone's just like, we all know. Like we all know. Y'all could stop trying to hide it. But yeah, I since, I've never worked in a formal traditional office job. I've done retail. I've worked in restaurants. I worked for a construction company, but none of it was ever like an office cubicle with the reception. Like it was never anything like that. And I don't know if I ever really would want to work in an environment like that. I don't think that would be my thing. I think at one point in time, I thought I wanted that, or I was like, I would trade that for the job that I currently have. But really thinking about it, I would probably hate it. Like
I will tell you, I felt like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if this is the right way to describe it is like, I loved getting up and driving and going into the office and seeing them. It could also be, and this might be a little sad, was like I've talked about, like I struggled in Seattle meeting people. It was like, at least my office workers were my friends.
Right.
And so, because like I would see Michelle on the weekends, we would go and work out, or I would go to the movies with Sherry or Sean. But I liked that.
Yeah.
I liked like knowing I had some place to go. Mm. But I can tell you, I love working from home even more.
Ultimately, yes.
I remember feeling like, I will never forget. So you know how many boxes I have here. Yeah. I would have those boxes in the office, like all over the place.
But those are not at home.
Well, correct. Well, no, but I'm just about to tell a
Yeah.
story. So when I was told I had to leave and that my cubicle was going to be used by someone else, I will never forget. I will not name him in the what his name was in the office. He was like, "Oh my God, finally, are we going to get rid of all these boxes?" And I just was like, this isn't like my personal stuff that's
Right.
here. Like, this is stuff that I'm using for the job. Like, where else am I supposed to keep it? But I just remember that was like one of the first nudges that I felt like it might not be bad for me to leave here.
Right.
Like, maybe I'm not wanted isn't the right way to go, but I was like,
Just a
yeah,
Just a better environment.
Maybe I need a different environment.
Yeah.
Maybe this isn't the best place for me to do this job, and it hasn't been. I mean, I think I thrive working at home.
yeah.
And so, yeah, I liked working in an office. I felt like it was fun. I felt like it was a job and like I had a place to go.
Right. I think why I love my job so much versus having to work in an office is I like being able to stand and walk around, and I like being able to kind of, if I just kind of want to, if I'm not doing anything and I'm just feeling a little antsy or just feeling, I can just kind of walk around, and also if it gets really hot, I have a cooler to walk into. Like, it's just, and I don't know, I just can't ever imagine myself working in an office. Like, I feel like I would be okay with waking up. I would be okay with dressing up for it. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh, I have to wear khakis. Like, I wouldn't be upset about that. Like, I wouldn't care. But I just think having to like sit in a chair and have to do whatever I have to do. It's like the line. It's like the big monologue from Say Anything. I really feel like I don't want to sell anything. I don't want to buy anything or process anything. I don't want to buy anything sold or processed. I don't want to sell anything bought or processed. I don't want to process anything bought or sold. Like, I honestly think I just don't want to do any of that. And I just appreciate the job that I have. I would love, if I ever had the opportunity to work from home, I think I would love that too much. And I would never want to leave home, and I would just be so content with that because I am such a homebody. Like, that if I had the option of like, oh, you get to be in your PJs all day and work from home and be on your laptop, I'd be like, I'm taking that. I would be like, and I'm never leaving this house again. You'd have to be like dragging me out of the house to go do something. So I'd be like, I'm in my PJs. But yeah, I love my job. I'm glad I'd never had to work in an office. I'm very grateful that I get to have the freedom that I have, and you get your freedom. You don't have to work. I mean, this house is your office. So, I mean, like where you're sitting right now is technically your office.
Yep.
You changed your locations because of the pod.
I did. And my surgery initially was the start of it. And then you were like, I like that you work here closer to me.
Well, I just didn't, you were separated, and I understood why you were separated. So you're in the back dining room, which is where we used to sit and eat and hang out a lot. But I think that was because that was kind of your business center. That was your office. But then when we started doing the pod and with your leg, and then you were like, well, yeah, I guess I'll move over to the dining room once it's better. I'm like, or you could just stay here because you're literally right next to me, and you can watch what I'm watching, and
or have it in the background.
Have it in the background, and sometimes we have the blanket covered, sometimes we have it up, and yeah, I mean, like I like that this is your new office.
I do. I actually do like it here because we hardly ever use the front dining room. And so
we use it all the time now.
Now we use it all the time. And I mean, it's just funny that more boxes came in today, 2 big heavy boxes of pens. And you were helping me bring them in, and I was like, I promise I'm trying to get rid of them. So like going back to that story about Seattle when he was sticking my boxes, I've been doing good. I've been packing up promos and a bunch of
it's nothing compared to what it used to be.
Oh my gosh. I've been trying to be good and get stuff out and not hoard things because it just becomes a mess of boxes here.
Okay. So a big running gag in probably every iteration of The Office is that the Tim/Jim character is always pulling pranks, and is always mostly pulling pranks on Gareth/Dwight, but I think he kind of pulls pranks kind of on everybody in some way. I know you're not a big prankster, but have you ever pulled a prank on someone at your job?
No, okay.
I have a few stories.
I was going to say, I have really lived by the, like, with a few exceptions in the sense of like, my friend Sue, my friend Holly. Sue lives in Atlanta. Holly lives in Massachusetts. I'm not one, I don't work with my colleagues. I mean, even when I did work in Seattle, it was a very like we all knew our place.
Yeah.
Like, even though we had all these quirks and personalities, it was very much like, this is a respectful workplace.
Right.
Like, you're talking to a bunch of lawyers. So there was no like harassment or joking of any kind in our office. But I think I've also very much have been of the mindset, and this sounds like sexual, like never dip the pen in the company ink. I've really never have dated anyone I've worked with. I've never been like super friendly with a lot of the people that I work with, not because I didn't want to be friends with them. I mean, I just said like the people in Seattle I considered my friends. I just have always felt a line at work that I wanted to be professional. I always just wanted people to also respect me. Yeah. And so and not that if you're getting ready to tell stories about pranking people, like that there's no respect there. I just don't think I've ever worked in a place where that would have been acceptable.
Right. Well, I've worked in different working environments, and I've worked in fast food, and I've worked in the restaurant industry where there is kind of this hazing that does kind of happen sometimes at some places. Not every restaurant I've ever worked at has been like that. But I would say probably the first place where I remember pulling pranks on people was my job at McDonald's, the one right next door to where I work now. And that's where I worked my junior and senior year of high school. And there were, I mean, like, it was all kids from Woodlawn. Like, it was all kids from Woodlawn, Terra, Parkview, kind of like the St. Michael, like kind of the surrounding school areas. And for some reason, Terra kind of intersected with our
I always wonder that.
School
like,
district.
I
have no idea why, but when I was in middle school, I would have not gone to Southeast. I would have gone to Kenilworth Middle. See how much that makes sense, because I lived off of Housatoo. But anyway, weird district lines, has nothing to do with anything. So we would kind of pull pranks on each other, and I was one of, believe it or not, I was one of the leading pranksters, because I was a let's have fun. I was the let's have fun coworker.
All right.
And so there was this one prank. So there was one specific item that we would get delivered in this giant box. I think it was maybe like the napkins, or maybe it was like the 32-ounce cups or something like that. But it was
the styrofoam cups.
It was like a huge box, and I was also like 5'6". I weighed like 105 pounds or something like that. So I was a little stick. So I could fit into all these little boxes and stuff. And so what we would do, kind of more with like newer people, maybe ones that like we knew a little bit, maybe from school or something like that. Someone that we knew would like be okay with it. One of us would hide in one of those big boxes, and then we would be like, tell that new person, oh, can you go get this from dry storage? And we kind of would have like a code word to let them know that they were like walking through the door. They were like about to approach the box. I don't remember what we would say, something. And then we, pop out of the box, scare the shit out of them. We didn't have iPhones back then. We weren't doing this for followers. We were doing this, not recording it. Like, this was just
for fun.
This is for the memories. This is
for the memories.
Yeah, this is just for shits and giggles. We had thing about McDonald's that's so different now, probably, and working at another fast food place kind of in this era of time, is that we had way more we had way too many workers working there on one shift. Like, we had way too many people there where 3 or 4 of us can go fuck off and no one would notice. Like, it was just kind of one of those jobs. And I worked really hard, but I also was a 16, 17-year-old. I was also having a little bit of fun. There was probably, like the pranks that we would always do at Jack. When I worked at Jack in the Box after McDonald's, we would do the prank where we would be off of work. This was like a few of us would do this to each other, where we would be off work and we'd go into the drive-thru and just like start screaming stuff at them. Like, that was like that was like what someone did it to me when on my first night. One of my friends did it to me on my first night doing drive-thru, who also worked there, and he was just like he just kept screaming like Jumbo Jack or something like that. He just kept screaming like something. I'm like, what is this guy's problem? Then I kind of heard their laugh, and I'm like, oh, okay, I know who you are. So I started doing it to them. But of course, when I did it to them, it wasn't funny. So it was like, but when they do it to me, it was hilarious. And then when I worked at so when I started working at normal restaurants, like regular sit down restaurant, like casual, like Applebee's and stuff, I started learning about the different pranks that were kind of universal at all restaurants. So there's this one thing where you do this to new people where you're like, go to this person and ask them for this thing that doesn't exist. Like, it would be like, go ask LD, one of the cooks, like, go ask LD for a bucket of steam. Like, and new worker would not even be thinking of the words, and they would just be like, can I get a bucket of steam? They're just like, that doesn't exist. They're just like, that's not real. And then there was the prank that I did not know until I worked at several restaurants. It's a prank that people do a lot, where it's like, we need you to empty out the coffee machine and make them drain the hot water, but it never drains because it's a water pump. So like, so you would just sit there and just keep filling up a pitcher. After a while, one of the managers would be like, we have a water bill. Like, we can't, you gotta tell them, you gotta tell them to stop. And then the one that I got pranked on.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So by the time I worked at Hard Rock Cafe in Destin, I kind of been hazed already at other restaurants. So my trainer, I was a busser. My trainer tried to get me to do the bucket of steam. I'm like, I know that's not real. Oh, go ask the manager. Go ask the manager how to empty out the coffee machine water. I'm like, I know that's a prank. It was like a kind of like, and so the guy that trained me, he was just like, okay, everyone here gets pranked, so you have to get pranked somehow. And so he like told me, and I'm like, okay, what's the thing that like y'all have always wanted to do, but y'all have never been able to prank somebody with it? He was just like, oh, to stir the grease trap. I'm like, stir the, so they make you put on all this gear, and then they make you stir the grease trap. It's something you don't have to do because it's just the grease trap that's outside.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, I will be a part of this. I will knowingly be a part of this prank, and you can make it look like you pranked me. And he was like, okay, this is how incredibly awesome I am. And
that's so funny.
And so he was just like, okay, what can we put you on? I'm like, give me like the rubber apron. Don't even give me like a regular cloth apron. Give me like the rubber apron that you use to like change the grease with. Okay, give me goggles. Okay, give me these big ass kitchen gloves. Okay, give me the dumbest looking spoon you can think of. So he grabs this really long spoon with like the tiny little thing at the bottom. And so,
oh my God.
And so it was in the middle of I was working the day shift, and it was in the middle of the evening pre-shift meeting that was outside. And so he was like, oh, they're doing the pre-shift meeting outside right in front of the thing. I'm like, let's go. I was like, let's do this. And so I'm sitting there, and they're all just laughing so hard. And I'm just like, oh, this is going to be epic. Everyone's going to be talking about how I got hazed this way, and this is how I get in with everybody, because everyone's going to be like, oh, you're such a good sport, and da-da-da. And so, like, I'm sitting there just kind of laughing about it, and one of the managers comes up to me, he's like, you don't have to do that. And I'm like, what? I'm just like, I didn't, what? And then, like, I came in after that. I came back in, and everyone had done pre-shift, and like everyone's come up to me, and they're like, we're so sorry, we prank everybody, and blah. I'm like, it's okay, I'm like kind of totally playing along. And Eric, my trainee, was like, I like this guy. He was like, my trainer was like, I like this guy.
Oh my gosh.
So that was my end at Hard Rock. That's how I became friends with everybody.
Aww.
I became known as the one who finally got pranked with the grease trap, this thing that they had been talking about and they had never been able to prank someone.
I wish there was a picture of that.
Like, so do I.
The grease trap.
Once again, we didn't have iPhones. This was before all of that.
Because that sounds disgusting.
It was disgusting, but I wasn't like touching anything. It was just like,
I know, but still the smell.
It was. I mean, I think I'm used to it. And so there were 2 pranks that we would do at George's. One of them was whenever we would have it. We don't do this anymore because it makes too much of a mess. Is that whenever there was a new busser, whenever they weren't looking, we would grab some dish soap and put it into the soap dispenser, put it like in the drain, because you're not supposed to put dish soap in a dishwasher because it causes bubbles. And so we would kind of just like do a quick little squirt and then walk away. And then within like 30 seconds, it's just overflowing with suds. And we're just like, what'd you do?
What did you do?
And we can't do that anymore because no offense to kids today, but they get really upset. So we can't really do it to them anymore. But a prank that me and Jody used to do to other guys in the kitchen, which we had to get sat down by 2 of our managers to be told to stop doing it, was, how we have an employee bathroom.
Yes.
So people would go into the employee bathroom. So there was an era where we had a lot of employees that would spend a little too much time in the employee bathroom. We don't know what they were doing, but they would just be, that place is a hot box. So like I don't understand how anyone could be in there longer than 5 minutes. I don't think I've ever taken number 2 in that place ever in my life. I walk in to pee and I'm like, I cannot breathe in this room. And this is a very, very long time ago. This is not anymore. This is well over 12 years ago. And so me and Jody, we would grab a scoop of white flour and the air compressor, and we would dump the flour underneath the door, and then he would let go of the air compressor, and it would just be like a hot box of flour.
Oh my God.
It was the funniest thing. We had talked about doing it for such a long time, and we worked with this one guy who kept going into the bathroom like every 30 minutes, and we were like, we're gonna get this guy because he keeps f***ing off, and we're tired of it. And so we did it to him, and then we kept doing it to people. We got like addicted to doing it to people. We were just like,
God.
The moment someone would walk into the bathroom, we're like, let's go. Like, let's do, like, we got addicted to it, and like we had to get sat down by Kevin and Kenny, our old manager. They were like, okay, y'all have to stop. Y'all keep having to stop everything to clean, because we would be like, oh, we got it, we're gonna clean the bathroom. Like, so we had to during work hours had to stop everything we were doing and clean the bathroom.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask, is like, how dirty was the bathroom after this? So
yeah, there was the last time where I dropped the flour like too far away, and just the flour went everywhere inside and outside the bathroom, and it went into the office. So it was just kind of like, that was when they were like, y'all have to stop doing this.
Stop doing this.
And we're like, fine. It was just like, whatever. So we would still do the dish soap prank. But yeah, so a lot of pranks. I'm a little prankster. I'm not so much anymore. There's a part of me that I've thought of some great pranks over the years, but never came to fruition. There was the last prank that I did was when I turned Blake's corner of the living room into a blanket fort. Me and Rick both did that, and then we were like, do you think he's gonna get mad? And so then we were like, let's put this down. We were like, let's take this down. So Blake, if you're listening, we were gonna prank you, and then we decided not to, or maybe we did. I don't remember, but it was a long time ago. Okay.
All right.
Let's get into this plot summary.
Let's do it.
This episode flew by. Like, it was maybe 20 minutes, maybe 20, 22 minutes.
Oh, they were so fast.
It went really fast, and I have just over a page of it. So, all right, The Office plot summary. A documentary film crew films the everyday activities of the workers at the Wernham Hogg Paper Company in the dreary English town of Slough. The regional manager is David Brent, an irritating middle-aged man who thinks he's as likable as he is entertaining. Amongst Brent's employees are Don Tinsley, his reluctant receptionist, Tim Canterbury, a bored but well-liked sales representative, and Gareth Keenan, a humorless territorial army veteran and assistant to the regional manager. So I love that joke never went away. Like, that started on this show. It's like I think it was like he was named team leader, which was a non-existent title.
Oh, that's things today. They have team leads.
Oh, I know.
You know.
Earlier in the day, David's supervisor, Jennifer Taylor Clark, visits him to tell him that Wernham Hogg can't afford to run both a Swindon branch and a Slough branch. One of the branches will eventually be merged with the other, depending on which is more efficient, which is another thing they brought into the U.S. version. They waited a little while, but it was like 2 seasons later. David panics at the prospect of losing the Slough branch and all his employees becoming redundant, but promises to keep Jennifer's message secret. However, rumors soon spread around the office. After hiring a new forklift driver, David shows new temp Ricky Howard around the office. So that's Ryan Howard, played by BJ Novak. In the U.S., is obviously a different actor.
Yes.
During Ricky's tour, Tim sparks conflict with Gareth after discovering his stapler and gelatin, another thing that carried over.
Yes.
Rather than punishing Tim, David attempts to make comedic light of the situation. Later, after Gareth forbids Tim from using his stapler, Tim takes it and ends up dropping it out of the window after an argument between the two. Tim then makes a barrier between his and Gareth's desk by using box files and forces Gareth to use the phone in order to speak to him. Yeah, I think I would end up being like a Tim if I were stuck next to a Gareth. I don't think I would be like ignoring him. I think I'd be like, oh, I'm probably gonna make this worse.
Yeah, you're gonna answer back.
Yeah. At lunchtime, David interrupts Dawn's lunch so he can tell her about a testicular cancer scare he had earlier. After various employees confront David about the merging rumors, he holds a meeting to explain the situation and promises they won't be made redundant. However, Don tells him that their branch is the one in danger of being merged, which results in other employees being worried about their jobs. So, holding a meeting over the slightest thing, another theme throughout all of the Office iterations. Later, David introduced Ricky to an Asian employee named Sanj. So this is also in the early days of Michael Scott, and David Brent is this a complete and total lack of awareness with how he comes across and how he appears kind of racist.
Correct.
And how there's no such thing as kind of racist. You're either racist or you're not. Sorry for using that word. Sorry for using that word in front of the other word. But yeah, so it's just kind of like just more or less not so much racist as much as just very ignorant and kind of thinking that he's funny. So there's this, he's talking to Sanj, who, according to David, can do a brilliant Ali G impression. If any of y'all remember the Ali G show, that was, I believe, Sacha Baron Cohen, his first big show. Yes. Really funny. It started a lot of careers as well. So if anyone's never seen that, it's a very funny show. However, Sanj tells David that he's mistaken him for another Asian employee, but David feels offended and calls Sanj racist, which, you know, was kind of the brand of humor back then. At the end of the day, Tom invites Don to go out with him and some other employees for an end of the week drink, just like Mabu did with Jurassic Park 3.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, their conversation is interrupted by Lee, Don's fiance, who insists they go home. In an attempt to display a sense of humor, David tells Don that she is being fired for stealing Post-it notes, and when Don cries, he subsequently backtracks, claiming it was only a joke. Ricky watches, silently horrified at the behavior of his new boss, and that's how the episode ends.
End of episode.
So, I mean, if any of y'all have ever seen the original, I keep saying the original, if any of y'all have ever seen the U.S. Office, the pilots are very similar. I would say they follow season 1 pretty closely in the US version, and then after that they kind of break off and start doing their own thing. Obviously the show only lasted 14 episodes. The US Office went on for 9 seasons, so I mean, like, obviously 100, I don't even know how many episodes of the US Office. But if you're a fan of the US Office and you've never seen the UK Office, you have to watch it. I mean, like,
I was surprised we had not ever watched it, and I mean, obviously when we thought of this theme, you were like, okay, we're doing this, and you also were worried because we hadn't done the original Office, but I kind of feel like this is right.
I agree. At first I was not worried, but I was just kind of like
surprised.
We haven't done the US Office. It's collectively between the two of us, it's like our show. So I mean, like, I mean, we have plenty of shows that you and I watch, but like The Office was like I feel like the first show, other than Happy Endings, the first show that like I really got you into, like I would put it on when it was on Netflix back in the days where it was on Netflix for like such a long time.
Oh yeah, that's how I watched it.
It was I remember like having it on, and you know, like, you're doing stuff around the house, or you're doing office stuff, you're answering emails, you're not necessarily like paying attention to what I'm watching. But then I got you with the fire drill, and then I got you with the fire drill, and you made me rewind that opening about 10 times. And then you were like, let's start from the beginning. And I was like, yes! I was just like, I got her.
And that was a hard beginning.
Yeah.
But you always kept telling me, like...
I kept telling you, I was like, just bear with it, especially those first 2 seasons. You're going to hate Roy. You're going to hate... You're not going to like Michael at first. Like, you may or may not like Dwight in the beginning. Like, you know, I know he's your boo now, but like... you know, it just takes a minute because these are very real characters. They're founded in a lot of reality. Sometimes people are not good with first impressions. Sometimes sometimes you do not like, sometimes people that you end up becoming best friends with, you maybe didn't like when you first met them, or you were felt indifferent when you first met them.
Exactly.
So yeah, go and watch The Office UK, idiots.
Definitely.
Sorry, I didn't mean that.
How dare you?
First of all, how dare you?
Oh,
we could do an entire episode just where we're quoting The Office.
Oh, yeah,
that would be an hour. All right, you think that wraps this one up?
That does.
I said it was going to be a short episode, but it's not.
It's almost 50 minutes.
Well, that wraps up this episode of of We Judge a Show by its pilot. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already, go ahead and follow us on whichever platform you're listening to this podcast on. That way you'll be notified every time we publish a new episode. You can also follow us on Instagram at We Judge Pilot Pod. We're also on Facebook. You can leave us a comment, suggest a show for us to watch, or leave some emojis in the comments. What you got?
I don't have too many. The UK flag, of course.
Well, that's a default
for all of these
for all the episodes, yeah.
But I wanted to.
Of course, it's going to be in every episode.
Because this actually, goes by the Office UK.
Very British.
Everyone says it. The paper emoji, the phone, the cash, because they're cash strapped. This one is a stretch. I put the jellyfish to represent the Jell-O, because there is no Jell-O.
There's no
emoji.
Jell-O molds?
The window, a box, the files, a cocktail, any of the drink cocktails, and then paper again to represent the Post-it notes for her saying that, that she was going to be fired for stealing Post-it notes. All right. Well, we are going to head out, but we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening.